It's been a while since I last uploaded, hasn't it? Well, my job has been going through a revision to make the delivery runs easier. Problem is, my boss is an idiot. Hashtag red rum. And what's worse is I really wanted to get all the G3 stuff finished before Season 9 started. But
it is time for us to retire.
Season 9 is going to start. And suck. Hang on, can the immortal retire? Who wants to live forever? Who wants to live forever? Oh, you'd never retire. Well, princesses can't, and this is Princess Promenade. Oh, sorry, the Princess Promenade. I just need a can of Raid. Yes, we're starting with the Breezies. And they don't have the funny accent. They're getting ready to go to Ponyville for Wisteria's Garden Club meeting. I don't see why a garden club needs to be announced by a town crier, but what do I know? I'm just making fun of the ponies. Look, they're stupid. Who are they making these floats for? Who's meant to come and see them when they are the entire population of Ponyville? It's like throwing a party for yourself. Awkward and narcissistic. The Breezies then arrive in Ponyville and put daisy chains on the ponies' heads. And then for some reason Zipsy decides to smell Wisteria's. Although my dirty mind says she's smelling her hair. Unrequited love. Apparently Breezies don't have antihistamine. Am I the only one who thinks it looks like the ponies are laughing at Zipsy? My Little Pony, bullying is magic. Oh wait, that's a current show, ain't it? Then they sing the most mundane song I think I've ever heard. Pay your taxes on time. Then you will avoid a fine. Clean your brushes, put your ladders away. What is that burning smell? Oh fuck, I left the cooker on. I'm fairly sure this is Snoop Dogg's favourite MLP episode.
Cause I do vegetation myself.
Speaking of weeds, Wisteria finds one, and when she and Pinky try to dig it out, they fall down a hole. They follow an awful smell and find a male. Normally I would make fun of the Brony analyst for wanting more males in MLP, despite most media being male-centric. But the trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield was recently released, and the female trainer is clearly Scottish, with her wee bonnet and her hoodie jumper thing. Hashtag represent. And not a single comic artist on DeviantArt can write a Scottish dialect. Like, seriously. I'm Scottish and I've never heard anybody say bahookie. I had to look it up. Apparently it means arse. Betcha some numpty put Scottish words into Google and didn't check whether or no Scottish people actually still use them. Ya chocolate. And now somebody's gonna grass me up. Anyway, the male is called Spike the Dragon and Pinky and Wisteria present him on stage to the other ponies in Ponyville. For Snoo Snoo. Wrong clip. Spike then tells him that he's there to crown the new princess, and since she touched the flower first, Wisteria is the princess. So is this like Princess of the Moon, or is it more like the Disney princesses? And along we. Although, why do they just accept new leadership? I know it's common in all media, not just this, but change in leadership usually happens because the current leadership isn't giving the majority of people what they need. For example, the Peasants' Revolt of 1381 was set out to abolish serfdom. Basically a form of slavery based on taxes. I think. The peasants marched all the way from Essex to London, causing chaos along the way. When they met with King Richard II, who was 14 at the time, they demanded an end to unfree labour, reduced taxes, and the removal of the king's senior officials and law court, who were blamed for the first two problems they faced. There was more to it than that, but it's basically an example. The peasants were being taxed to the point where they were starving to death, and they needed the system to change. Which eventually it did. Just not in their lifetime. Okay, that must be based on a toy. Mind you, I think my sister had something similar to that. Until it pulled out half her hair. Wisteria arrives and all the other ponies start acting like she could order their execution, even though it's just Spike that's calling her a princess. She's as much a princess as Princess Carolyn.
Oh yes, Princess Wisteria. Where in the dickens have you been? We must begin your training.
We got the rope ready, the ball gag ready, the blindfold ready. You need to be ready to play the damsel in distress.
If you're ever going to be a proper princess, you need ladies in waiting.
It's weird how when you have a dirty mind, My Little Pony makes things dirtier. Anyway, Zipsy's now in charge of the Promenade since Wisteria's doing her princess training. Wait, is that a book about being a princess?
Is there a book about being a princess I should read?
Hashtag irony. Spike has started doing this thing, and it gets really annoying after not very long. They then sing about being a princess.
When you're royalty, you must learn to be full of grace in all you do.
It's so boring. This whole episode is too long. Princess Problem was way better than this. Partly so I can make this reference. A princess must look beautiful, her outfit must seem grand, so we'll take this bit of lace, and this tattered pillowcase, and whatever else we'll find on hand. I need a break from this. I'll take a ride on my bike. Hashtag unregistered. Actually, the bike makes for a good metaphor. The engine turns the cast of A Land Before Time into power. That power is sent down the drivetrain, which in this case is a chain, to the final drive, i.e. the wheel. Now drag bikes have a longer swing arm, that's this thing, and by extension the drivetrain needs to be extended to compensate. The reason you want a longer swing arm is to stop the bike flipping backwards. There's a real danger of that happening because the sticky race tyres and the 1000cc engine can overcome the weight of the bike. Therefore, you need a longer swing arm as leverage to keep the bike on the ground. But a 50cc bike like this? Putting an extended swing arm on a 50cc moped will only slow you down, since it doesn't have enough power to flip up in the first place, it'll just make the bike heavier. So how does this relate to MLP? Well, a conflict like Nightmare Moon is like the 1000cc engine, and defeating her is like the sticky race tyre. You need the extra length in order to get the best out of both, without metaphorically flipping over backwards. But Wisteria being a princess is like this 50cc engine, and the resolution of that story is like this thin street tyre. She'll either accept her new position or find some way out of it. Either way, you don't need the length of a world-ending event to tell that story, and in the end it hurts the story because it feels like not much is happening very slowly. Well, Wisteria has to check up on preparations, and some of the ponies are fighting.
Be a darling and move it!
I think it's so lovely how good friends have helped one another out. Pink flowers and green leaves, it's wonderful. Good job.
Well, she's good at diplomacy. There's a bit afterwards where the ponies are complaining that there's no plan for the promenade, but they can't ask Wisteria for help because she's a princess. Then what exactly does the princess do?
Merchandising.
Where the real money is made. You do realise princesses actually do stuff other than stick their faces onto flamethrowers to sell to kids. Even then, that's commemorative crap. I mean, princess isn't just a word, it's a governing title. Yes, princess is subject to a monarch, but like Spike's been saying throughout this whole thing, the other ponies are Wisteria's subjects. Therefore, aren't things like a town festival meant to be overlooked by the governing body, like the princess? I mean, there's no economy or territory to speak of, so what is she governing? Mind you, as Princess, Wisteria could tell Spike to get stuffed.
But I think I know a princess when she steps on me.
Anyway, the day of the promenade comes and... hey, there's Starcatcher. Wait, did she have her wings clipped? She looks like my gran doing her crosswords. She stops the parade to give a speech about princesses.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for making me feel very special as the first ever princess of Ponyville. Each and every one of us is a princess in our hearts and in the hearts of our friends.
You're a princess, and you're a princess, and everyone's a fucking princess. Even Spike. I hated that episode. And that's the Princess Promenade. Hashtag it sucks. Okay, it doesn't actually suck, but it is way too long. A story is much like a motorbike, in that what you put in, take away, or change will alter the characteristics it has. Like, a fairing will improve aerodynamics, and make it heavier. A longer rake will improve straight line stability, but make cornering harder. More power will make it faster, and harder to handle, especially for the inexperienced. This episode has a slice of life story, but the runtime of something more epic, like an end of season, we must save the world type story. Therefore, I find myself getting bored and restless when I feel like there isn't much going on. And given that Spike's been asleep for 1,000 years, it wouldn't take that much to retool this episode into one that could lend itself to a far more epic and engaging story. Which brings us on to a new segment of my videos that someone suggested in my Royal Problem review, that I'm going to call Vagina. For it is the birthplace of us all. Or maybe, how would I make it better or be more thematic? Basically, I'll suggest ways in which I think an episode could have been made better. Really, the thing I'd say that would have made this episode better is basically the thing that would have improved G3 as a whole. I'm not bashing G3, it is what it is. However, it is rather saccharine. The problem is it's aimed at the little girl demographic, and when you narrow a show down to one small group, you run the risk of it not appealing to anyone. Not least when it comes across as rather stereotypical. Like, the characters here are all similar, only with an individual quirk. This one likes green, this one likes pink, this one likes rainbows and says darling all the time. I know I'm making it more like Friendship is Magic, but if the characters were more like, this one's the tomboy, this one's the femme fatale, this one's the raging lesbian, then you'd have more identifiable characters. Spike's the same. He has a hard-on for princesses, but if he was the bringer of some major chaos that could only be stopped by the princess whom he was training, it would give the story more urgency and therefore get the viewers more invested. I know I'm nicking from Friendship is Magic again, but if the episode started with a legend like, after the dragons hibernate for 1,000 years, they will return and conquer everything, and only the princess can stop them, it would fill the hour-long runtime better. I mean, Spike does quote fairy tales throughout this, and he says there are dragons far older than him, so use those to the story's advantage.